Welcome to DC Direct. I'm Lionel Donovan. Here in this show, we try to talk about some of the bigger stories, but we want you to weigh in. So please follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube at TRT World, and use the hashtag DC Direct to be a part of the conversation. In today's show, we'll be talking about the elections in Israel. Benjamin Netanyahu has secured his fifth term as Israel's prime minister. Securing his seat, though, was not easy. During this election cycle, Netanyahu faced a tough challenge from opponent Benny Gantz's Blue and White Party, as well as allegations of corruption. But now that the votes are in, how do people feel about the results? And what kind of message is this election sending to the people of Israel?
I think I'm a bit naive because I thought there'd be a change here. A change for the better, a change for going forward towards peace.
In my opinion, there's no better alternative. You can't just come out of nowhere and become a prime minister. And Bibi has all the experience and big achievements.
We're surrounded by right-wing radical people who want to annex more territories. In this part, we're never going to have peace.
I think Netanyahu is a great leader. Israel is a strong country. It's a wealth country, and I think it will be better now.
So the fact that Bibi won, I think we'll see some pretty good action in terms of peace. Look, everyone said, and I never made it a promise, but everybody said you can't have peace in the Middle East with Israel and the Palestinians. I think we have a chance, and I think we have now a better chance with Bibi having won.
I am very moved that the people of Israel put their trust in me again for the fifth time, a greater trust even.
So how is Netanyahu's election win being received here in the U.S.? To find out, let's hear from Jerusalem Fund's Mohamed Mohamed and student activist Nathan Feldman.
Benjamin Netanyahu has just secured victory in the prime minister elections. So in your opinion, what does this mean for Israel and what does this mean for Palestine?
What this means for Israel is that it's probably moving towards, moving away from a two-state solution. Right before the elections, Netanyahu was promising that he would annex the settlements in the West Bank. That would be unacceptable for Palestinians in a two-state solution where settlements are still existing. So what it appears to be is that they're moving further from a two-state solution and essentially to a system where it would be one apartheid-like state, where basically Israelis dominate Palestinians economically, socially, politically.
Student activist Nathan Feldman also thinks that when it comes to a two-state solution, Israel is moving in the wrong direction.
Netanyahu has essentially thrown the two-state solution entirely under the bus, both in his practices and in his rhetoric. Just before the election, as you said, he promised that he wanted to annex portions of the West Bank, and under a two-state solution, Gaza, the West Bank, East Jerusalem are all parts of a contiguous state of Palestine. If Israel wanted to annex any of the three regions or split them up any more than they already are, then the two-state solution is being destroyed before our eyes.
How do Palestinians here in the U.S. feel about the elections?
Most Palestinians are not surprised with what happened. Again, this has been going on for decades, 70 plus years. You would expect things to get better over time, but they have not gotten better. If anything, it actually keeps getting worse. And again, even if his opponents won, I don't think they would have expected something much better. The Israeli Labor Party, for example, which is considered more to the left, they weren't much better than the Likud party right now. They're the ones who perpetrated the Nakba in 1948 and expelled Palestinians. They're the ones who were in power when they invaded the West Bank and Gaza and the Sinai Peninsula and the Golan Heights. They're the ones who supported the settlement project. The attitude for Palestinians is that things wouldn't really be much better even if somebody else had won.
Nathan feels that Netanyahu's victory may actually drive away the American Jewish community, who are traditionally more liberal and progressive than Netanyahu's right-wing Likud party.
Here in the States, we've really seen the resurgence and birth of many left-wing and progressive Jewish groups that have a very honest and open-minded approach towards dealing with Palestinians and seeking peace and reconciliation in the region. I personally know many people who work with the group If Not Now, which has led protests against the massacres on the Gaza border with the Great March of Return. Jewish Voice for Peace has a rapidly growing membership, and they're a pro-BDS Jewish organization. And I think American Jews really are quite openly moving away from the State of Israel, and it has many more prominent pro-Israel organizations that have entrenched themselves in the Jewish community in the past quite worried. We've seen the articles from even places like AIPAC talking about how officials are worried about the growing divide between liberal American Jews and the State of Israel itself.
Well, that's all the time we have today in DC Direct, but please be sure to follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube at TRT World, and use the hashtag DC Direct to let us know what you think about the Israeli government. Until next time, I'm Lionel Donovan.